Welcome
Nice.
to Arsenal Above All. I've got a very familiar face with me, Neil Shah. He's been missing in action. Again, Celebration Police is after him, even more so after the week we've just had. Don't know if he's celebrating still after the news we've had today with the draw, but we'll find out about that. I think he looks pretty confident about it. We've got lots to talk about. We've also got Lauren Dempsey, who will be joining us. She's watching the Arsenal women at the moment against Chelsea, so hopefully she'll be coming back with some good news. But we've got the Brentford game, the Porto game, the draw to talk about, and obviously what's to come with the trip to Manchester City. But before all of that, let's go. Welcome to the show, Neil. How are you doing? It's been a while, man. It's great to have you back. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm on top of the world. Thank you so much, firstly, for having me on. It's great to be back, as always, on this wonderful channel. And just also, a quick note on that. I want to say congratulations to you for surpassing 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. So well done. You've worked tremendously hard on a relatively young channel, and it's just done so well. So well done, Michael. You really deserve it. So congratulations.
Thank you. No, thank you very much.
Just like Arsenal, above all, isn't it? That's it. It
Yeah.
sums it up. Yeah,
No, thank
road
you.
to Wembley, sir.
Yeah,
Road to
fingers
Wembley
crossed.
and revenge
Fingers
on
crossed.
Barcelona. It's happening.
Yeah. That's the dream. Get the revenge after all those years at Wembley. But no, thanks, Neil. It's been obviously sort of labour of love. Obviously, getting yourself and everybody else involved and supporting the channel, and yeah, really appreciate it, and the comments and all the support from everyone across the board. So yeah, just onwards and upwards. I'll if we do win the Champions League and the Premier League, I think I might just quit at the top. I think I'll just call it quits after that. Don't see the point in carrying on, because Arsenal will be above all, isn't it? That's it. Underline it and drop the mic and all that business. But no, thanks, Neil, for coming on as always. Again, as I said, we've got Lauren Dempsey joining us shortly once the ladies' game has finished, or the women's game has finished. Obviously, there's been a bit of chaos there with a kit clash with matching socks, which is insane. But yeah, she'll be joining us later as well. But yeah, we'll start, Neil. Obviously, we'll spin it back a couple of. I was going to say a couple of weeks, but it's only a few days. It's not even been a week. But that we played Brentford, and I think we all kind of knew what was going to happen and what they were going to try and do with Thomas Frank's tactics. Obviously, we've played them two times already this season in the League Cup, and obviously beat them 1-0 in the league as well, with Havertz again coming up trumps with a last minute winner as well. But what was your thoughts on that, Neil? Because I kind of thought Arteta would probably take Jorginho out the fire just to keep him fresh for the Porto game, because I thought he was going to be key in that one. But he didn't. He played the same team. Well, not the same team, because obviously we played Sheffield United and Martinelli got injured, didn't he? So he had to bring Trossard in. But yeah, that's pretty much the team that everyone kind of thought he was going to play. But I thought maybe Jorginho would probably come out just to keep him fresh. What was your thoughts on that decision? Obviously, if we spin it onto the Porto game, our legs went a lot. But what was your thoughts on just the performance against Brentford, especially with what that 3 points would have done to us? It would have put us top of the league. But what was your thoughts on just that way we approached that game, and obviously Brentford's tactics, if you could call it that?
Well, no surprise about that, Michael. Come on, we all know that they were going to set up to block us, and they certainly frustrated a team which had been scoring goals for fun up until that point. I think a lot of people were expecting another Tonking, but I think people with a little bit more experience would have known that no, look, it's going to end at some point. And the most important thing was to get the 3 points. It was vital because it gave us an opportunity to be top, especially if either that game ended up in a draw, which it did. So it was the perfect result for us, perfect weekend in a way. And yeah, okay, we didn't increase or make the goal difference even better than we have done recently. We still got the points, and we still got a very vital win. I felt so from Brentford's point of view, I didn't expect anything different, but I wasn't surprised about Jorginho. I wasn't surprised about any of the team, because I'm the one that I've been advocating myself that, look, if a team is doing well, and I know we've got games coming up, and then rotation is going to be a must, which it will be, especially now. But I thought, if you've got a winning formula with a balanced team, albeit with the Martinelli being exchanged with Trossard, you stick to it. You just stick to it because the formula is there. It's working. Of course, we can bring on subs if need be. But I thought that, yes, we did have Porto in a few days after that, which surely Jorginho would feature because he's great for Champions League games. He's got the experience there. But I thought you got to remember then after that we've got 19 days off. So I thought it made sense not to change the team. I wasn't surprised with it. And then how it all panned out. I mean, just as a summary, yeah, Ramsdale in goal. Obviously, I was so pleased for him because I've been a big fan of Ramsdale's, and it's such just unfortunate what happened. Obviously, he's been kicked to the teeth for it, and rightly so. That was a stupid error. He almost just fell asleep for a second there. That was silly. It's not something a mistake a keeper should be making. But having said that, I think he redeemed himself somewhat with those two. I would class them as almost world-class saves, both of them. That was a tremendous bit of improvisation from Tony, and that was a shift of feet. He had to change position to save that. And then even the other one, I can't remember who headed the goal, made the header, but again another great save to deny them. And that at that point we were struggling because it was 1-1. They would have gone 2-1 up, and I think that could have been actually thinking about as I'm saying it now. That's actually a really crucial save. Because can you imagine if that had gone in, the whole dynamic could have changed, which also could have impacted the game against Porto. So I think actually that was a really crucial save. But when you think about the Kai Havertz, it's just tremendous, isn't it? He has been absolutely poo-pooed. The critics have been after him, and he's scoring goals for fun at the moment. I think he's got 4 in a row now, hasn't he? He's just been brilliant. And you've got to give a shout out to Ben White. What has happened to Ben White? I mean, great news with his contract, which I'm sure you'll talk about in a bit, but he's 2 assists, and he also didn't he get in the action as well? I think he might have even had a shot on target or something. I can't remember what I won't be surprised. But he's just been phenomenal. His work with Saka and Odegaard has come back to what it was last season. He's making runs up, going forward, and he's been an absolute menace to the defenders. And 2 assists. I was so pleased Rice scored, but Havertz getting the winner again. It's just melted my heart. So I've probably gone and said too much about the game, but I feel that the points were so vital, and I think Ramsdale's save, with hindsight, was exceptionally important.
Yeah, for me, it was kind of like encapsulated Aaron Ramsdale's Arsenal career, where it's a bit of chaos. It's a bit of chaos going on. And then he pulls off an unbelievable save, a little bit the same where when we played Liverpool last season, he pulls off that amazing save right at the end to keep the score at 2-2. And we've seen it. We've seen, I think, even the Bournemouth game where we let that goal in straight away, and then he pulls off an amazing save before Reece Nelson gets his, a moment. So for me, it was basically that was Ramsdale. If that's his last game, well, that was a Ramsdale game, wasn't it? He done a shocker, got emotional. Turn things around. He's giving it to the fans. Then he pulls off this amazing save and everything. So So yeah, it looked like that. That was rubber stamped Aaron Ramsdale kind of performance. But with Brentford, it's funny. There's an interesting stat that there's a stat with the ball in play stat. The lowest ball in play stat of the season in the Premier League. Brentford feature in there twice in the top 5. So the top one I think is Sheffield United against Wolves, but Brentford against us was 49 minutes and 26 seconds, and also they got the third lowest time, and they got the 5th lowest time as well, which is 49 minutes 26 seconds and 49 and 8 seconds. So there's 2 games in the top 5 in the Premier League this season which features Brentford, and they're both against us, and they did obviously what Porto did, talking to. I've never seen a team talk to the referee that so much before. Every foul, they were all around him. I thought that rule. I thought you weren't allowed to do that. I thought you weren't allowed to surround the referee. This referee seemed to be fine with it, but they were talking to him, touching him on the shoulder, all pally. He was laughing and joking back, and I was like, "This is really sort of happening." He shouldn't be acting like that. It should be a little bit more impartial. But he got away with it, to a certain point. But it was great that we kept Tony quiet, apart from that shot. And I think the players kind of knew how important they obviously knew how important it was to get that result, get over the line, just to put a little bit of pressure on the other 2 that played on Sunday. They played out that draw, which obviously has kept us top of the league for now, up until we played them on the 31st. So yeah, it was a fantastic. It was almost felt like a revenge win. Even though we haven't lost to them this season, and I think it was just the way that they carried themselves, and especially Thomas Frank at the end, complaining about Havertz. Classic deflection. I'll talk about that, but really, we could have had 2 penalties. You're not talking about getting away with that. You're talking about Havertz. And some people have said there was contact. Some people said there weren't contact, but a lot of people have kind of said, well, there was contact, but he embellished it. He's not completely dived without there not being any contact, and that would be, punishable, but definitely by a yellow card. But the guy had touched him. But yeah, classic manager that they seem to do these days. I don't know. They seem to love to do it against Arsenal and Arteta. That they have a excuse nicely in place, which we'll talk about in a minute with the Porto manager. But yeah, what would you think about that?
No, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted, but not surprised, because it happens all the time. End of the day, he's going on about Havertz. He should, if he had, if the ref had done his job properly, he wouldn't have been on the pitch, which means he wouldn't have scored the winner. But hang on a minute. So what about the 2 penalties? Trossard was basically had his hand around his neck, dragging him to the floor. But also, I thought, which is even worse, where Gabriel was literally pulled to the ground as the ball was coming in. So it gave him no chance to have a go at potentially scoring. And the thing is, not only have we been so good with set pieces, so that denied us a chance there, but if there'd been 2 penalties, the way we've been pounding penalties this season, I think we've missed, 19 and none missed or something? It's incredible. We would have certainly scored, if both penalties were awarded, we'd certainly scored 1 out of the 2, I'm sure, if not both. So, sorry, you can't go on about one thing without even mentioning the other. But no, it's all about Kai Havertz shouldn't have been on the pitch, and how he's done that, and how he's cheated, and I'm just sick of it, Michael. But you know what?
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing, the narrative again of the media. Straight away, they jumped all over that as well, didn't they?
That's right.
That's right. All they spoke about.
Yeah, but for me, you know what? All of this makes it so much more sweeter when we're going to get the double, or win the double. It does, because everyone is, the media, the pundits, everyone. You got all the idiots on social media platforms just smashing into us about all of this stuff. But we're still up there. We're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and we're top of the league. So deal with it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they don't seem to be dealing with it pretty well, Neil. That seems to be the issue. They're all losing their heads. It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. I don't know whether it's social media. Obviously, social media wasn't about when we were successful. Obviously, going back, really successful, I should say, in the league. Our back and forth with United and going unbeaten and everything. Obviously that's 20 years ago. So social media wasn't around at that time, and obviously we've seen the way other teams are sort of treated, and stuff. But because we've kind of been, out of it for such a long time, and all of a sudden it seems like we've turned the corner, we're back to going back to the top again. It's just amazing how many teams, people or supporters are triggered by that. You know, the Ben White announcements, which we'll talk about later, that the video which they did, is people losing their heads over it, saying, "Oh, this is so cringe," or whatever. And these are Liverpool fans, or these are, fans of Man City or whatever. And you know what, mate? It's not for you. It's not for you. It's for Arsenal fans and people who've supported Ben White ever since he's arrived or whatever. It's not for. We don't make content on, or we don't release content for you. I'm sorry. I don't know if that doesn't compute, but we don't go through Liverpool's social media timeline and go through every single video. Like, oh, let me see. Do I like that or not? Or am I triggered by that? That's pretty sad, because that's effectively what you're doing. It's got nothing to do with you. So why are you commenting on it? But anyway, that's it just blows my mind that so many people are just literally spending their time getting triggered about another club when it's got not, it's someone signing a contract, and we're happy about it. So what's the issue? But anyway,
it was all right. It was all right for Alexis Sanchez to play the piano when he joined Man United, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was all right. That was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's pathetic. It really is.
It does my head in. It is pretty insane. But at this point, let's add Lauren to the show. How you doing? You okay?
Hello. How's everyone?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
All right.
What was the score? I was trying to set up the show, but what was the score? Was it good? It doesn't look good. Look at your face.
It was 3-1 to Chelsea in the end. It was a really, really bad performance. So
dear.
Happy to be here to distract myself from that, because it's been a tough few hours, let me tell you that.
Oh no. Okay. So thanks for coming on. We try and make this a little bit enjoyable, having a chat. So delight to have you on again. You think you're a lucky charm. I don't think you've spoken on a show where we've kind of had a bad run or anything. So
yeah, I don't think I
keep
have.
it that way. So
you keep giving me the easy ones.
Well, we've got to have you then before all the Champions League games now, and basically every game the rest of the season. So just make sure that we get this over the line, if that's all right.
Perfect.
Well, we might as well have
Lauren
Lauren on. Just have her on indefinitely all the time. We'll do what I've always dreamed of and do the quad next season. Come on.
Yeah, I'll put it in the calendar for sure. You can count me in on that one.
Thanks for coming on again, Lauren. Really appreciate it. I was just talking to Neil about obviously the Brentford game and the fallout, with the deflection tactics from Thomas Frank, who I think has gone on record, a few times, defending Arteta, when they asked him questions about his celebrations and stuff. So obviously he's quite salty, quite bitter, which was disappointing, really. But what was your thoughts on just again the whole narrative again? Everyone looking at Havertz's supposed dive and not the blatant penalties that we should have had. The one that Trossard was pulled back around the neck, and you compare that to I think it was this season when Rodri got a penalty for literally something nowhere near the same against Man United, and they got given a penalty. But what's your just thoughts on just that game, obviously going into the Porto game, and just how, again, people just seem to be really, really triggered and, using Arsenal as, beating Arsenal from all different angles, like over the stick, because they can't beat them on the pitch.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I think it was one of our tougher games, to be honest. And I'll be completely honest and say I don't really remember much of the fallout from it. For me, it was one of those games we got the 3 points, let's just move on and focus, like you said, on the Porto game. It was a tough game. It was a very, very tough game. And I think had we not have got that late winner, it probably would have been more, was something that I would have focused on more and spent a bit more time looking at. It's interesting. I think that for sure Arteta does seem to come under a lot of stick from other managers, shall we say. I don't know what it is, a relatively young manager was unproven before the Arsenal job, and to be doing so well in it, I think probably ruffles a few feathers for sure, particularly amongst fellow managers in the league. I can only imagine that it's tough for them to see somebody so young doing so well with, a relatively young squad, and the squad that he's really built and developed, and for them to be up with the likes of, with him, his achievements to be up with the likes of Klopp and Pep. It has to be a bit tough for other managers to take, I'm sure. in terms of like I said, sorry, I actually don't really have any memory of the fallout of the game. I just focused on it. It was probably one of our tougher Premier League games that we've had over the past run. And I think it's credit to Brentford. I do think Brentford are a very, very good very good team with great players. And yeah, you can understand, they obviously are trying to push, and they probably felt they deserved more from the game. But overall, I thought, it was a very solid performance from a team who looked like they were in a title race. They fought hard, they dug in, and Havertz came up trumps again, as he did in the I believe the away fixture, the home fixture, whichever one it was that we played at the start of the season. So I think overall, it's not a game that I've lost any sleep over. Those comments, I think they just come when you're at the top. People are trying to rattle you in any way, shape, or form. So yeah.
Yeah, fair play. I mean, yeah, it's pretty much it's bitterness, and I think as long as we keep winning, it's gonna keep coming. So we'll just get used to it. So yeah, that win obviously took us to the top of the table. Liverpool and City drew, so we sit there obviously until we play them on the 31st, which is nice. And obviously before that, we had a little matter of dealing with our Portuguese friends, or Mourinho FC, or whatever you want to call them. Mourinho, especially they definitely had a manager playing in Mourinho cosplay on the touchline. I think I said to Steve, Scooby Doo at the end when they get the villain and they pull the mask, let's find out who he really is. And I'm sure he did that. That would be Jose Mourinho, and then he'd be running off down the tunnel, and we'd try to chase him. Bloody Muppet. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I mean, we saw what they got up to. They had all the talk after the game. Arsenal came here to play, we came here to win, and all that stuff. And we got the fire stoked. An amazing atmosphere. Watching from home sounded absolutely unreal. I saw some stuff on Twitter where some Porto fans went there and they said they couldn't believe the atmosphere. They've never seen it like that before. They normally expect, coming to England, it's particularly now it's more quieter. People sit down. It's more like a show they're watching and stuff. And said the noise, especially during the penalty shootouts as well, was insane. But yeah, we get into it. Obviously, had obviously 1-0 down, and it was a little bit of a cagey start, wasn't it, Neil? We obviously tried to sort of get on the front foot of the first 10 minutes. But then after that, Porto looked like they were reverting back to what they were doing in the first leg, and had a couple of, almost got in a couple of times themselves, didn't they? And it was a little bit hairy, a little bit tense. And I just think until we got that goal, we had to get a goal before the first, before half time. Sorry. And we did with your boy Trossard, who's coming for Martinelli. But yeah, I think the key thing of this was Martin Odegaard. The way he opened them up with that pass and his performance throughout the whole night. I mean, what was your thoughts on the goal? But just you can touch on Odegaard as well, because I think someone wanted to see what leadership was or what a captain was. That was it. That he wasn't not shouting and thundering into tackles and getting the City yellow card. That was it. That he was absolutely perfect in terms of what he did on Tuesday night, wasn't he?
He's blowing my mind. I've always gone on record. I think I even said it on the last Purely pod as well, that I've always favoured very sort of vocal Sergeant Major-esque captains on the field, barking orders, showing a bit of authority, maybe sometimes a little bit not being too nice to his fellow teammates. But Odegaard is so different. Odegaard leads by example. He leads with his feet, so to speak. And I think that display against Porto epitomised what he's all about. And I've warmed to him as a captain, very much like I've warmed to now Raya being in goal. I've warmed to Odegaard as captain. I thought at the beginning that Rice, I think, will eventually become captain. I think Rice is going to be with us for the long term. And I think eventually he will become captain. I'm not suggesting that Odegaard's going to leave. I don't think the way he talks and just something about him, it suggests that he's going to be with us for a long time as well. But I do now like the way he goes about what he does. He He tries to encourage the crowd whenever he can, and he just leads by example. And forget the assist for the goal, but during the course of the whole match, he's just the conductor. He orchestrates pretty much everything, anything to do with. But he's also not only going forward and trying to create chances and opportunities for the fellow forwards, but even his awareness off the ball. He's got such cute awareness, and then when he does get the ball, his precision is incredible, and he's lightning quick. And look, for me, Dennis Bergkamp is probably one of the greatest players I've ever seen live, and I don't want to start making comparisons, but there's something about the way they can read the game. There's a similarity with that, and that assist, the way he had 4 defenders to deal with, and he just sliced them apart with that move. I think he shuffled. He had to make a couple of adjustments, but it completely bamboozled them. But the pass itself was like a gift, and that's not taking anything away from the finish, because that was still a great finish by Trossard. But for me, the goal was all about Odegaard's assist, and what a crucial time to get it. Just before half time, it was so needed, because he just said, I think it was. Although it wasn't as bad as the first leg, because the first leg we didn't even get a shot on target, did we? We weren't even getting anywhere near their goal. I mean, we were doing pretty much everything else, but we just couldn't do anything up front. We had some chances, we had some opportunities, but they were a very streetwise kind of, group, a unit, with, of course, European experience. Now, I might be wrong in saying that, because I think there were some debutants there, or people that haven't had much experience, but as a team, they've got that experience, and they were I thought very clever in the way although we might not like it, it did nullify anything that we had to offer, and they suffocated us a bit. But we still, having said that, had some chances, and I can't remember where their chance, whether that one of the chances were in the first half, and Raya came trumps with that save. It was a good save, actually. It wasn't a easy one just to parry away. I thought that was a great one. And if I can just quickly flip forward, and the second one he made, it wasn't just about his save, but did you see what Kiwior did as well?
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget how good this youngster has come in. He's having to fill the shoes of not just Zinchenko, but Tomiyasu. But he's doing such an amazing job. He's doing his defensive duties, and he's up front as well. Sometimes he's there, right there, thinking, what the hell's he doing there? How did he get there? How come Kiwi was up there? He's either assisting or even getting a chance to bag a goal himself. I think he's a tremendous asset to this squad. But yeah, I think it was a vital goal, and the only goal, but at least it got us back in the game. And there you go. And that was the most important thing.
Yeah, 100%. It was a, as I said, the atmosphere was pretty special. And I think everyone kind of, got, if they weren't aware how important it was, the first knockout game we've played in 14 years, Lauren. But did you think there was a bit of nervousness from a few players? I mean, noticed, Saliba, he's not been quite sharp the last couple of games, but he was making some really, really basic errors. And then, then you kind of think, well, okay, this is really they really want to make sure they get this right. They don't want to make any mistakes. And 2, they're still fairly young. You're up against someone like Pepe, who's got X amount of Champions League games, against some of these guys who've had, just literally the group games, and that's it. But do you think now that we've got over that hump, people like Saka as well, they've got that confidence of a knockout win, victory, and the way we did it? Do you think that kind of will, embolden them to, especially with now who we've got to play, coming up in the quarterfinals?
Yeah, I think for sure. One thing I do want to say is I think Saka had a quiet game, but their right back Wendell was unbelievable that game.
Yeah,
and I might say something a little controversial. I actually really enjoyed the game. Well, not during it, but looking back on the game, it was so entertaining. I think Porto, people criticized the style that they came out and played in, but it was so effective in nullifying Arsenal. It was so effective in counteracting our normal style of play. And that's what made it such an entertaining game, because I think it worked, generally speaking, all over the pitch. for us. And, you know, credit to Porto, they didn't sit back and just defend. I thought it was an amazing, amazing game to watch. Even halfway through, I kind of felt myself going, you know, this is really enjoyable if my heart wasn't in my mouth, kind of thing. Saliba definitely looked a bit shaky, but I think, you know, it kind of goes back to the point that Neil made. The Kivior has stepped up massively. Ben White has been phenomenal over the past few games. I mean, the whole season, really, but you really see him coming into his own now. And I just want to give another massive shout out to Gabriel, because I think, in my very humble opinion, he's been our defender of the season. And you know, a lot of people are still riding on I suppose, the debut season that Saliba had last year. I don't think he's looking as confident, as, you know, as sharp maybe as he did last season. And I don't think it's, you know, for me, it wasn't just the one game that he's had where he's had a few mistakes. It kind of is a bit of maybe off form. I wouldn't even say off form, just a little lag perhaps in his normally 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 performances. So yeah, I think obviously the pressure of the tie didn't help the occasion, but, you know, I would say that it sounds so silly, but looking at that back four that we have now, I do think Saliba is probably our least in-form defender that we have. And in terms of other players, I thought everyone else put in a really, really good shift. I do think Jorginho looked a bit tired towards the end, but that's to be understood. He'd worked his butt off for the majority of the game. He absolutely dominated that midfield. So yeah, I think overall, I didn't really see a lack of confidence, not in the second leg anyway. I think we went out and we played our game, but yeah, just credit to Porto. I think they were really, really, really capable in dealing with everything that we threw at them. And then obviously it was Martin Odegaard's piece of magic that was and that's probably what both teams needed on the night. You know, if one team was to edge it in normal time, extra time, it was going to be something magical like that. And luckily, you know, it favored us, and we were able to get to the penalties and stuff. I think the win can only give confidence to the players going forward. I think it's obviously a massive win, not just in terms of the Champions League, but I think in our season overall. I think it was something that has really been hanging on people, you know, on the shoulders. Okay, can we get past this? Can we, you know, break this bad run of history that we've been building, you know, getting knocked out in the final 16 for so long? And Arteta did it, you know, and credit to him. I think he put out the best team that we could have played. Again, Saka was completely nullified in the game, but that's, in my opinion, it's nothing to do with him. I thought he did everything right. Just his counterpart was phenomenal on the night. And
really good.
You know what, overall, like, we prevailed. And the penalties, I mean, I'm definitely not built for that kind of suspense and drama on a Tuesday night. That's not normally emotions that I feel midweek. But yeah, I mean, what a feeling, and credit where credit's due. I think you have to give the flowers to David Raya. He was phenomenal. Really, really, really phenomenal. So yeah, you can't be too disappointed in that performance for sure.
No, you're both spot on, really. I just think now, obviously, with what we've got to face, obviously that's going to be. I think it will definitely add to, like, the confidence and the knowledge that, okay, we've gone up against a very, very tough team. We're not really going to play. When you look at the draw, we're not really going to play anyone like that until we maybe meet someone on the other side of the draw. That team on the other side of the draw who's like that is Atletico Madrid, who are the only ones that I was kind of saying, well, I don't want to play them. Well, if we play them, I'd rather play them at their place in the first leg and then the second leg at the Emirates, but obviously it didn't work out that way. But yeah, I think it, you know, obviously we'll touch on the draw today for the quarterfinals, which was quite, you know, exciting to be in that situation again. And I know Neil obviously doesn't care who we play. He believes that we're gonna sweep all before us and everything, which you know, I really hope that's the case. But a lot of people are saying they wanted the easier route. You know, they wanted Dortmund, and you know, and then we play City or Madrid in the final in a one-off game. That's not going to happen. If we are to win it, we're going to have to play. Obviously, we know we're going to have to come up against Harry Kane and his mates twice. And then you've either got City or Madrid. So if we do get there, or if we do win it, then we've definitely earned it. And I think you can definitely say on that half of the draw, you're pretty much thinking that the winner of the competition is coming from that half of the draw, the half that we're on, because it's so strong. But Neil, do you think? I know, again, you're obviously touching on you're feeling confident going forward, and we've spent so long out of this Champions League, or off the top table. Do you think it's good for us to be up against this quality of opposition, because it will really give us we know we're a good side. We're getting all the flowers from all the analytics and people from Athletic and the real guys, the real football geeks are looking at all our numbers and what we're doing. But do you think, obviously, us going up against a Bayern Munich and possibly a City or Madrid in this situation will give us a really quick snapshot of where we are? So, for example, if we are successful, then yes, okay, we're great. But if we're not, then we know where the level is, or we can kind of know, okay, we know where we need to identify to maybe get another player. Do we, depending on where the sort of weaknesses are still. But do you think it's a good thing that we're playing against this level of competition, because we're not going to lull ourselves into maybe, all right, we'll get through against Dortmund, and then we maybe play against PSG, and then we get to the final against those guys, and then just get totally wiped out? What's your thoughts on just where we are, like, in terms of the standing? Is it good that we're playing the elite, and we know that we have to get our level up to do well in the competition now?
Yes, to answer all of that simply. Yeah. Lauren touched on Arteta being a young manager, fielding a very young squad, and this is the perfect opportunity for them to have an incredible experience. You can't get any higher than this in European football. You just can't. Look at the teams that are still in the competition. I believe Man City are one of the best, if not the best side in Europe at the moment. You've got Real Madrid with all their history. Potentially, we could play Barcelona in the final. You've got Bayern Munich. You've got loads of solid competition, and you can't compare or even judge yourselves until you've actually been thrown in the lion's den, as far as I'm concerned. Now, on the flip side of that, I still think, if you look at the Premiership, I'm arguing that that's the best league in the world by far. It's such a difficult league where I think that any team can beat any team on any given day. That's what makes it tough. It's not just about the top 5 or 6 taking complete command, and yeah, they might have a blip now and again. Every single week that you play in the Prem, there's a potential chance that a big team on paper that should be winning doesn't win and ends up losing. So that's what makes it competitive. And yes, we have learned so much from that alone in the last few games, if you like. The maturity that this team has shown. If you compare us to this time last season, this is where we started falling apart last season. If anything, we're getting stronger, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be winning every single game 5 or 6-0. I actually think, I quite, like Lauren said, now looking back on hindsight, I now look back at the Brentford and the Porto games, and I quite enjoyed them, because it showed that we can also win in such a different way. We're not just blowing teams apart in the first 20 minutes, and we're having to struggle and work for it. So that experience, I think, has come at exactly the right time, when we're now facing probably the toughest part of the season, not only in the Premiership, but also now, because we're still in the Champions League, facing all these difficult challenges. And in regards to who we got, I think I've always said it. People say, can we avoid them? I agree with what you're saying about Atletico Madrid. That actually does make sense. But I think that at the end of the day, you've got to beat the best to be the best. So I don't care who we get. We've got to face them at some point. If we're going to lose, if we're not going to end up winning it, does it really matter whether we lose in the final or the semi-final, the quarter-final? You've lost. No one really remembers. You only remember the winner, really, don't you? So yeah. I'd just take on anyone, and I think from the experience point alone, it's so huge. Now, just before I finish on this point, it's let's put our hands together for Arteta, because Pep took ages to come out of the group stage. He didn't do it in this first season in the Champions League. Arteta's first season back in the Champions League, and everyone was worried because they said, "Oh, he hasn't," and quite rightly so. he hasn't won a two-legged European affair yet. You know, with our goes at the Europa League. And everyone was worried that, oh no, but is he really going to be able to beat Porto over two legs? Because he hasn't got good history. But look, he's done it. It's a learning curve. He's learning all the time. And he's already got us to the quarterfinals. First attempt. It's tremendous. So it's going to be more experience. I'm really confident that we'll get through to the semis. I really am. Then it's, one of the biggies, isn't it? And bring it on. I'm really excited for it, and I'm looking forward to it. I think this is really going to show a true test of how far this young team has come from last season, where we almost won the Premiership. Gauge against what happens this season, and it's just going to get better and better. I think if he keeps this young squad of players together, especially with the signing of Ben White, which is clear evidence of that, I think this team's going to just grow and grow and become stronger with some extra additions in the summer. I think this is good times to be an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, I agree. Do you agree, Lauren, in terms of the task and us meeting the challenge, and just thinking that we're playing against a team that are going to be on the front foot. They're not going to be that cagey. Thomas Tuchel, Arteta's got a good record against him. He's beaten him a couple of times, I think, at Chelsea, at Stamford Bridge. Got a couple of good results over him as well. What's your thoughts in that and the draw, and how you think it's going to pan out?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was pretty happy with the draw. I was one of the people who said I don't want Real Madrid or Man City at this stage, because I do want to see how far the team can progress. And I think having one of those teams is a big, respect all the teams in it, but I think if you look at the rest of the teams, let's take Bayern Munich, for example, right? Yeah, I was happy when I saw we got them, because if you look at their record in the league this year, in the domestic league, they're not doing that well. Obviously, they have the history of dominating against us in the Champions League, but we're not going to focus on that now. Let's live in the present. And I think, it's a bit of an unsettled side, a team that has a lot of pressure on them. We're kind of going into this without many expectations on us, because, it is our first season back in the Champions League. No one probably expected us to qualify this far, and look how far we've come. Not to say that the team isn't good enough for it, but just due to the lack of experience, due to Arteta's track record, that kind of thing. I think there's going to be more pressure on Bayern, particularly with the second game away for us, home for them. I'm happy with that. I think it's a good draw. I think it's probably one of the better draws we could have got, because Atletico, I think we would have had another dig deep, extra time kind of game to get a result from them.
Yeah.
The rest of the teams, they all seem to be doing relatively well. To be honest, I don't know much about Borussia Dortmund, but yeah, I think any of the other teams probably would have felt going into the game against us that, okay, let's play our normal style of football, and we probably have the talent to outweigh Arsenal, or the more experience, shall I say. I don't think talent is the right word, but experience, and players, managers who've been there before, done it before, that kind of thing. Happy with the draw against Bayern. Not delighted about the potential semi-final if we do progress, but like Neil said, you have to face these teams at some stage. And if you do go over the hurdle of Bayern Munich, you get over the hurdle of the semi-final. Looking at the four teams in the other side of the draw, shall we say, I think you fancy your chance against any of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think, you look at them there, PSG, okay, Bayern Munich, yeah, they have great players, but I don't think as a team collectively, and I'll put my hands up and say I don't watch a lot of other leagues. I only really see Champions League, and I would watch a bit of Barcelona, but I don't think there's a lot there to cast a lot of fear into the players, into the management there. I think you kind of go into it going, right, let's do it. So yeah, my only concern would potentially be the semi-final, but Neil made the perfect point. You have to, if you want to be, and I'm getting ahead of myself here because I'm happy to see how far we go. I think one step at a time, but with the current draw that we have, Bayern Munich, I was really, really happy with that, to be honest.
Yeah, I hear you both completely, because I was there thinking, let's get the second leg at home, and let's have the first leg away. And I think doing it the other way around, it's like, okay, well, if we go to Germany, the pressure's kind of off us. Basically, the pressure's on Bayern to get a result, regardless of what happens in the. Let's say we get a positive result in the first leg. the pressure will be on Bayern, and then again, we're kind of a young team. We're kind of people kind of expecting City and Madrid to win it. So there's that as well, that we can maybe go there, maybe a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more, not a free hit, but just a bit more relaxed, and the pressure is off us a little bit. But I think the way that we've definitely controlled games, with our defence especially, I think that's going to be the key, that us keeping those players fit, especially getting someone like Tomiyasu back. I think we have to get Tomiyasu back. He's going to be massive because he's just so versatile. But just in that sort of game, I can see him being used away up there. I know they were after him, weren't they? They were sniffing around him in January as well. So we need to get him back, and that's the key, isn't it? Getting these players back. Partey, Jesus and Zinchenko to full fitness. Timber, I still think he's not going to be considered until maybe late April, maybe if we're lucky. But I do hear you both. I think this is what it's all about. This is what this journey's been all about: getting back to this level and making sure that we kind of make a good account of ourselves. And I don't think Arteta is going to. Another thing as well is that the away goal rule it doesn't apply, and I think if the away goal rule did apply, I think Arteta would have really overthought it a little bit. He would have been a bit cagey, but now it's like, just win the game at the Emirates, just win it, and then go over there and just see, and then we'll see how it goes, and we'll take it from there. And it's exciting times. It's really good to be spoken of, and I think there's going to be a bit of revenge, obviously, not because they know anything about the 10-2s or whatever before, but I just think there's going to be, we're going to prove a point, and my dream is for us to get to Wembley and play Barcelona after 2006, and apparently we're the designated away team if we get to Wembley, which probably means we're going to be wearing that. What I think someone called it, the kit is called the fire escape or the fire drill shirt, because whenever they're asked to wear it, stadiums just get evacuated all over the country whenever they wear it. So if we get there, we'll be wearing that shirt. So that obviously reminds us of the yellow shirt we wore when we lost there. So yeah, it'd be nice to get a bit of revenge and a bit of a bit of a loop on it. And I'll just tell you this, guys. I'm not one to superstitions or whatever like that or stuff, but do you know that the last 5 teams that have knocked out Porto in the Champions League have all got to the final? So I'm just putting it out there. We'll all pray to Dennis Bergkamp, for him up there to please Dennis. We bow at his church every day, and please, do your magic and from above, and amen. Dennis Bergkamp in Lord's name, please. So yeah, hopefully, we can get over that. It'd be nice to be one of the another reason why Harry Kane won't win a trophy. That'd be really good, wouldn't it? That's another thing as well, and also for Saliba and Gabriel to kind of show him, oh look, we've improved. We're not the same guys that you played against last season as well. But yeah, so just touching on the league, just finishing off on that, Lauren. Just wanted to show you guys this. I don't know whether you'd be able to see it that well. But obviously we've got the break now until we play City, and that's just sort of like a some geeks have done the average points that teams or points per game teams get in the league so far. So they're talking about the difficulty of winning the league. This obviously doesn't take into account now the games that we're going to have to play in the Premier League and the Champions League. Sorry, obviously the games against Bayern are between, I think, the Brighton game and the Villa game. Same with Liverpool and Man City, because obviously the Europa and Champions League games are played in the same week. Is this all going to boil down to, guys, just how fit we keep players, or how many players we can get back? Because if we get anything major, I don't see how we can absorb that? What do you think, Neil? Do you think because obviously United have got not United, City have got their squad. Liverpool seem to be getting their players back at the right time as well. We do as well. But I think for me, it's just going to boil down to who stays fittest, really, towards the end, because we know what happened last year. But what's your thoughts on the running? Do you think, are you worried that Arteta might kind of take his eye off the ball a little bit? Just because of what's in front of him. Because one of the things that we've worried about is in trusting the squad. He might not have a choice. He has to do that now.
He has to absolutely trust the squad. But the difference between this season and last season, we were losing players last season. We're actually gaining players this season because you got Partey coming back, Tomiyasu coming back, Zinchenko's just come back. I think Jesus as well. God, I forgot about Jesus. Yeah. You don't realise how many players we've had out. We've been on such great form, but actually we've had key players missing from the team for substantial amounts of the season so far. So that's another reason why we should applaud Arteta and the boys for doing what they've done. But these boys are coming back, as you can see in the picture there, or have come back already. A couple of three of them actually. And then you got Tomiyasu, and I think you were right to say that. I think he's going to be vital for Champions League. He's such a versatile player, and he could be so important in those tougher games. I think he's a tremendous asset to have. And look, I don't want to, as much as I want to see this guy play so much, Timber, I don't want to kind of put them in the mix yet, because the last thing we need is to rush him back prematurely and then him having a relapse or a setback, and then bang, he's out again. That's the last thing. I think it's best if we go forward with it thinking he's just not going to feature. And then if he does, it's a bonus. I'd love him to, of course. He looked like such an incredible talent. The short glimpses we've had of him in the Community Shield, and I think the first half of the first game we played. But I'd rather not rush him back. I think we've got enough there. And the key thing is the same thing as last season. This is my belief. If all our players remain fit, if we don't get any, key injuries, and all the other players which are coming back start, ticking and hitting the mark fairly quickly, there is no reason why we cannot go all the way till the last week of the season. We can't go to the final of the Champions League. And that's even with Arteta having a little bit of an issue maybe with trusting players, because who are the players that he doesn't really tend to pick? That's the Nelsons, that's the Smith-Rowes of this world, which really, if you look at the season, sadly, they haven't really featured anyway, to be honest. So it's not going to make a major difference, is it, if those ones that he doesn't trust too much are not going to play, because, well, they haven't played. So it's about what we've got at the moment and those few that are coming back, which we just mentioned. And if they can all remain fit, I think we've got a very, very good chance. I mean, you don't have to ask me. I think we're going to get the double anyway. But, if you want me to be realistic, which I am being realistic about the double, by the way. But you know what I mean. We have got a great chance. It is about keeping the players, because they've definitely learned from last season. They've definitely matured. There's definitely a step above of what we were doing. And I think Arteta has also matured in a way. Certainly in some aspects. They're end of the day, even in 5 seasons' time, he's going to be, if he's still with us and we're doing quadruples year after year or season after season, he's still going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes in life, don't we? We all do. But I think there's a vast improvement. And the players, what the key thing for me is? They look so hungry. That's it. The desire, not just from the manager, not from the supporters and all the other staff involved with the club. The players themselves look so damn determined. Look at the celebrations that we get, chastised for. But look at what it means to them, all of them. It's insane. They're all at it. Saliba, Gabriel, they're all like going absolutely crazy, on anything. And that's not just scoring a goal, guys. That's even when they defend a goal or stop a goal from being scored against us. They are in such unison. It's untrue. And also, the other reason I was pleased for Raya, it's the first time I've really seen him with a lot of passion and emotion after that. Even after he saved the first pen, but when he scored the second to win it, oh man, I've not seen that, and I'm liking it. And maybe he feels that he's become accepted within the group? Because I'm not so sure when he first came on board. Because Ramsdale's a likable character, I'm sure he is. I'd love to have a friend like Ramsdale. He's just a crazy dude and sounds like a lot of fun. And, maybe the players, they found it hard to deal with the fact that this chap's come in and Ramsdale's just been cast aside. But now I think Raya's also been accepted, not by his peers, but also he feels more comfortable. And that is massive because every great championship winning team needs a class goalkeeper. And I think we've got that keeper now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was his moment, wasn't it? That penalty saves. That was the moment where all the doubts and everything, that were there swimming around him a little bit were totally gone. Added to what obviously happened to Ramsdale against Brentford, but this has kind of put a line through it, hasn't it, Lauren? In terms of the fan base saying, "Oh, this is our guy now." We need to kind of get used to the fact that Ramsdale's not going to be around from the summer onwards. This is our guy. Get behind him. Because again, he's just going to fill him with loads of confidence, not just obviously what he did, but just he knows now he's got the backing of the fan base.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the highlights of my Tuesday evening was probably seeing Ramsdale actually celebrate with him, and it shows there's so much unity within the team, within the squad. And just to touch briefly on Ramsdale's game against Brentford, I didn't think he had a bad game. There was the one mistake he had, but when you have players coming, and this is kind of a question of squad rotation and players coming back from injury, players who are featuring after not featuring for a long time. We saw when Thomas Partey came on, I can't even remember what game that was, but his first touch, I think he gave the ball straight back to that position. Players need time, to kind of get back into the groove of things and to find their place on the pitch, shall we say. And I think it was really unfortunate for Ramsdale, because I think apart from that, he had a great game, a really, really great game. There were some big saves he made. It's tough coming in. It's tough coming in when you're not number one. And, at the start of the season, we had the question, who's going to be number one? Is there going to be two number ones? And, now we see what Arteta was really going for. What his plan was all along, and you can't argue with it anymore. I just don't think you can. It did think back to the Community Shield, and I can't remember how many did Ramsdale save in the Community Shield penalty shootout. I think he saved a few.
I think he saved two, didn't he? I think he saved two.
Was there a miss as well? I can't even remember what it was. So I was kind of thinking, okay, Ramsdale has proven himself. Let's see what Raya can do now. And he came up trumps. Like, what can I say? I really can't praise him anymore. And I think Neil made a really, really good point there. He does seem to be very accepted in the squad now. It seems as though, there's really good energy, good vibes amongst them. And that's really, really important too. It's so important. And I think it does probably contribute as well to the phenomenal defensive record that we've had towards the latter end of the season as well. Obviously we talk about injuries. We've had a lot of different back fours this season as well. There's been a lot of players coming in and out. Kivior, I mentioned him again because I am also in the boat that he has been phenomenal since coming in. I actually think him coming in has probably benefited Ben White in a big way. I think we're seeing Ben White get further up the pitch a lot more, because when Zinchenko's playing, he's the player who has the license to get forward to attack. And with Kivior, it gives the option of going on both sides now, because we have four centre backs essentially playing across the back line. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we're seeing more assists, more goals from Ben White in this period. But it's just interesting. And I think, bringing it back to before I ramble to a completely different point, bringing it back to the defensive, I think it comes back to the players being very in tune with each other. Communication is obviously there. We look so organized, and it starts at the very, very back with the goalkeeper. And I don't think anyone has any issues now with or any questions, should I say, really, with Arteta's decision. I think the proof is basically in the pudding, and actions speak louder than words, almost, in a sense. So I think there's very, very few people now who are Team Ramsdale as opposed to Team Raya, and that's with no disrespect to Ramsdale. I think he's a great keeper. What a dream number two he would be, but I think he is too good to be on the bench, unfortunately.
Yeah. 100%, 100%. You know, and yeah, a lot of positives to take forward. Especially, I think Arteta's given the players a week off. I think, and I think Saka's in New York. He was watching the basketball game yesterday. There's photos of him, literally like a dwarf to the guy that he was swapping a shirt with, a basketballer. Obviously, they're about 6'7", aren't they, or something like 6 or 7. But yeah, he's over in New York with his brother, I believe, and yeah, they're giving the players a week off, which is great, because obviously then they've got to go away for national duty as well. So yeah, we've got all of that. So you mentioned a guy in the news as well. We'll finish with him, and that's Ben White, of course, who has got his new contract, which was thoroughly deserved. He's been absolutely immense the last couple of months since he's come back from Dubai and charged up with his son with vitamin D, and you know, great to see playing in a new kind of inverted role. I mean, there was one point against Porto where he was running across the field and he ended up at his left 8, you know, all the way over there and right next to Kibior. It's like, wow. So it was great to see that. But obviously, with what happened with what usually happens, I should say, with Arsenal news and content, people get triggered and people lose their heads. And you know, we released the video where all the Arsenal squad were giving their thoughts on Ben White. You know, really funny and really thoughtful gesture by the club to do. And we obviously know the reason why it was done, because of the England manager, who decided to chuck Ben White under the bus, saying that he doesn't want to play for England. He doesn't really know the reason why, and he's tried to reach out to him and blah blah blah. And then the Athletic dropped a story saying, well, the reason why is because his assistant manager, you know, dug him out in front of everybody and made reference to one of his quotes he made in an interview when he said, "Oh, he doesn't really watch football." And used that against him as like he was like kind of some kind of weirdo or different. And he said that to him in front of quite a few of the senior players. And then obviously you get everyone coming out saying, "Oh, who do you think he is? People would die to give their, you know, to play for England." It's like he's not going to war. You know, he's a footballer. You know what I mean? I mean, it's so sort of over the top. And I was saying to Neil, I don't think there was all this stuff when Paul Scholes said he didn't want to play for England anymore. I don't think there was all this stuff when I think Jamie Carragher said he didn't want to get picked for a squad for a period of time and he kind of got called back in. I don't think there was all this stuff when Gary Neville threatened. He was part of the union, Footballers Union, and there was some issues with the media, the press, really giving the England players a hard time. And I think it all surrounded around Beckham. And there was literally a point where there was an international game and Gary Neville was right behind it. And he threatened that the English squad were going to strike because of the footage or the coverage they were getting from the media. Don't hear anyone saying anything about that. So, do you know what I mean? Again, it's just the Arsenal angle, isn't it? It's a narrative. We're top of the league. We're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. You know, we're not playing for 2 weeks. You know, let's just throw crap at the club again, and that's all you hear. It's on Sky News, it's on TalkSport, it's on every sort of outlet that you can think of. And I'll go to you, Lauren, first. I mean, you know, it's we keep saying we should be used to it, but it's just so tiring. You know, when you just see this stuff. That's how I felt yesterday. I was just so tired of this crap. You know, and we know it's coming, but it's just so tiring of people using different narratives to have a go at the club and our players. And it's great to see that video because the club are basically firing shots at England, saying, "Look, you know, forget what you want to say. We know what this player is because he's getting. This is a validation from his professionals that see him day in, day out." But yeah, what's your thought? What's your take on all of that?
Yeah, no, I think perfect points. I think, you know, another thing we have to consider as well is he'd be going in most likely as right back. That's where he's playing at the moment. Of course, he can play centre back. Probably a position that the English national team are a little bit weak in, but he, you know, at the moment I classify him as a right back. You look at the other talent that they have in that area. They have Trent, they have Walker there. How realistic is it that Ben White is going to feature? Now, look, I think they're friendly games as well. Yeah. So what is the fuss about? But it's not the first time that he's been excluded from an England squad, and I think the issue is now, one, he's in phenomenal form, and it probably raises the question again. But I think in my personal opinion, the real issue here was Gareth Southgate and the comments he made. Thought they were so unnecessary, throwing players under the bus.
Yeah.
You're meant to be there to protect the players and, you know, keep bridges there. Don't burn them and just make up something, say, yeah, Ben White is not available. Arsenal asked us, or whatever, anything. But don't say the player, we got a call from the director saying that the player doesn't want to feature. I thought that was really below the belt. I thought that was really unprofessional from Southgate. And I think that's really where the issue is. And I haven't really heard many people mention that. But yeah, that's my point on that there. In terms of, just it seems like a pretty, when you compare it to the environment at Arsenal, everyone seems happy there. Everyone wants to play. You never hear Ben White saying, I don't want to play for my club, because, you know, I feel like he's probably one of the most solid players, one of the most committed players that we have on the pitch. But obviously the support or the environment that exists within the England camp is not the same, and he doesn't feel respected, or whatever the reasons are. You know, there's been so many reports he had fallen out with Southgate, fallen out with this person. I also heard there was a falling out with Kyle Walker. Whatever it is, that should never, ever, ever, let them be rumors, but don't, as the manager, I just thought it was so unprofessional. And for, you know, sorry, I'm lost for words here, but I just found it really unprofessional and really distasteful to throw a player under the bus. And, you know, for me, that's where it starts. It doesn't even go to the media. It's the person who's there who's meant to be protecting the players. And to be honest, that kind of it said everything to me, really, that it kind of shows you the environment that exists there. And for me, the more players that stay back and don't go on international duty at the moment, the better. You know, if Saka and Rice say, hey, look, actually, I don't want to go either, perfect. Yeah, that's fine with me. But no, I think the issue there is just obviously the drama that happened in the World Cup, him leaving early, and it's just another bad story for Arsenal, isn't it? But for me, the person responsible there was, of course, Southgate, and I think, in my honest opinion, you will not see Ben White back in the England squad until Southgate moves on.
No chance. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, he's a hypocrite, isn't he, Neil? Because I think, you know, he's been put on this sort of pedestal, Southgate. You know, he's, you know, in terms of looking after players' welfare, as you know, which Lauren said, and I saw he's done loads of stuff regarding players', you know, well-being and mental health and stuff. And if you see some of the stuff that's coming out, you've got old pros coming out, people on social media absolutely going crazy, saying it's disgusting, it's a disgrace and everything. Where's the concern for someone's well-being when you've kind of allowed that to happen because you've thrown that, you know, you've thrown that person under a bus because you want to protect your mate, your assistant manager, saying he knows that isn't the reason when it was the reason why. And I think Jack sort of mentioned it as well, saying about the City players, because he's had clashes with Foden and I think Walker as well. So I kind of think there might be something there as well, that maybe he did that in front. He could have done it in front of them. Obviously, at the time, I think obviously City had just won the league, haven't they? You know, or just beat us, whatever, when it happens. So yeah, what's your thoughts on it as well? Before we'll finish up, because obviously, it's something that annoys me, but it's just great to see that, you know, the Arsenal fan base and people, you know, with common sense are seeing through the lies, because I think Southgate kind of knows he's on the way out, so that's probably why he's done it. He knows he's got this tournament and then he's gone, so he's kind of just said, you know what, I'm just going to say what I'm going to say.
My thoughts are, I'd rather not spend any time on him, and I'd rather speak about our manager. And I would like to say about our manager that, you know, at the end of the day, he gets a lot of stick from selecting players or buying players, such as Kai Havertz, this rare situation, and he's proved right. I'm sorry I'm ignoring the Southgate thing. I just don't want to talk about him, because I think he's an idiot to do that to a player, because at the end of the day, he's a human being, and he might have his own good reasons not want to play for England. And actually, like Lauren, I'm actually ecstatic with that. I think great, brilliant, because I'd rather him focus on the club, which is more important to me at the moment. Of course, I'd love to see England win when they're playing in the internationals, but international proppers, not these stupid friendlies that seem to be coming at really inappropriate times in the season. I hate it. So I agree with everything both of you said. I'd rather be speaking about more positive stuff. And I also I just want to give a shout out to Saka, because Saka has, like Lauren was, quite rightly talking about Saliba. He's been kind of a little bit on and off, and that's not because he's off form, because the levels that Saliba and Saka bring to this club are so high. Even the smallest dip to us looks like, oh my God, what's wrong with him, right? But look at the way he took that penalty. He took it on a different side that he usually does. It's such power with
it's great penalty.
Beautifully taken confidence. And give a shout out to all the penalty takers. They all took them well. Even Kai Havertz, I thought, what's he doing? And then that was really clever what he did. And I think, I don't know about the number, I think it's 19. We have not missed one. And think about 2024. Is it 10 games and we've won 9 of them? Losing only the Porto game 1-0. It's an incredible run. So I would rather talk about a different manager, a much better manager in Arteta. Thank you very much.
Yeah, what a way to end the show, which I've kind of called Triple A extra time, because obviously just a bit of extra time to talk about Arsenal stuff and everything as well. So I really appreciate that. You two have spent your time with me this Friday night just to talk about another memorable week. It's been as an Arsenal fan, and obviously we've got kind of a week and a bit to kind of relax before it all starts off really on the 31st when we go to City, and hopefully really put the marker down for that. We'll talk about that probably nearer the time. But thanks, Neil. Thanks, Lauren. Lauren, obviously, do you want to plug your podcast, your brilliant podcast?
Yes. I'd love to. So Ladiesinred, it is a podcast and focus on Arsenal women. Of course, this week it's not going to be too positive. I'm very sorry. So you get the positive side of me on this podcast, but I'll be covering the 3-1 defeat to Chelsea tonight. And I suppose as well, just to mention, if you're missing Arsenal during the international break, you can watch the women play against Villa next weekend, I believe. And yeah, there's a bit of a clash as well, because the City game is actually the same day as the Conti Cup final, which is Arsenal's only real chance of a trophy, and they're on maybe half an hour apart. So gonna have to do the double screen, split screen thing to keep an eye on that. But yeah, just to mention those as well.
Okay, so
brilliant.
Do that, because my daughter, she loves watching the women as well, and and we want to try and get them down to the Emirates to watch the game, because it's hard to get a ticket for the men's game. So it's you sometimes get in to watch the women's game. It's a little bit easier. So we'll try and get them down. Maybe if not at the end of this season, maybe early next season when it's a bit warmer, when they have the first couple of games there. But no, thanks for that. Yeah, definitely check out Lauren's Ladiesinred podcast. You can check that out on Spotify, and obviously you have an Instagram page as well, don't you? As well, yeah. So that's great. So thanks for your time. Thanks for your time as well, Neil.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Fingers crossed. All our boys come back from their hijinks and trips fresh and fit, and obviously the national breaks as well. Yes, there are friendlies, I think, for most of them. Our players are probably going to end up playing 90 minutes, for each game, and all the City and Liverpool players will get. I've got a fingernail. I've got a little bit of dirt on my fingernail. Can I get pulled out of the squad, please, and stuff like that, and all that nonsense. And then the Arsenal players would just end up playing all the minutes. So all that nonsense to come, because they're scared of us. They're worried. They're worried about what's coming down the line. And looking forward to the City game, because I really think we're going to make a statement on that one. And the confidence from obviously midweek will do us well, and knowing that we could face them in the future of that competition is going to bode well. So fingers crossed, all goes well. And thank you for all the support. As Neil said, reaching 4,000 is ridiculous. Didn't think he was going to get anything like that this soon. And thanks to all the people that supported me. Thanks for yourselves again for your time to take part in it. Really, really appreciate it. Anyone that appears, because it's time something that I can't give back to you, or you can't get back as well. And just hope you like to be part of wherever this goes for the foreseeable future. And like I said, I think I said to Neil, once we if we do the double, then that's it. I'll quit, because Arsenal are above all. We've completed, it's mission complete, isn't it? It's like it's all done. So what's the point in having another show, not unless I rename it something else. But no, thanks for all the support. And really, really appreciate it. I'll get this out as soon as I can. And have a lovely weekend. And come on, you Reds.
Man, remember, Giroud into the box, and they have immediately.